Look, if this Jesus is real, and if he's really worth it, don't I want to be on the side that he's on? And it wasn't so much that I wanted to avoid hell, but as I wanted to be alongside somebody who I was learning more and more loved me, cared for me, and certainly as we celebrate Easter this week, laid his life down for me. Well, hey, I'm Michael Rodriguez. This is my wife, Helen Rodriguez, and we have been at Antioch for about 7 years. I was born in the Bronx in New York, and at about age 8, my mom and dad picked up my sister and me, who was at that time 6 years old, and moved us to Southern California, and that's where I grew up.
And I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and I'm first generation Korean. Just grew up in a good home, but, a dysfunctional home.
And the same was true for me. My folks were great. They're always hardworking, and they took really good care of my sister and me, always provided. We didn't really have a particular religious background. I would say that I was religious to the extent of attending church on Christmas and Easter when I needed to, and a lot of times not. But my parents, too, were really hardworking, but they struggled, and I look back and now can see much more clearly. My mom and dad had really rough backgrounds. And my dad, with his background, he struggled. He oftentimes really kind of relied on substances to sort of coat a lot of the pain that he had. But I also took on the party life and started at a far younger age than I'd like to admit, especially now since I'm telling my parents on camera. But throughout high school and throughout college, kind of tended to walk both sides of the street, so to speak.
I think I hit a point in my life when I was going to college in Los Angeles, where I just hung out with the wrong crowd. Ended up having probably what I thought were friends, but really weren't friends, and just got mixed up in just that dark path.
We both met in around 1991. Early on in our lives and professional careers. We began dating and ultimately got married in 1995. And as we kind of were cultivating our relationship early on, I watched my mom and dad go through a little bit of a metamorphosis in their life, with all the pain that they had dealt with, and they'd had a lot of relationship issues. At a time when I think they kind of hit the peak of their marital issues, my mom had one of my cousins who we would have never in a million years predict that he would do something like this. But he told my mom that she needed to go to this church called Calvary Chapel in Costa Mesa, California. Nevertheless, my mom heeded that advice and went, and lo and behold, she was radically saved by Jesus. She met God in a moment that I think really was transformative. But not a couple of weeks maybe after that, my dad also was transformed by Jesus and met God. To see at that point what was a very precipitous change, like they literally went 180 degrees in this other direction, it was profound. And so in this time when we're having all of these observations of my folks and these questions that we're trying to answer, I just happened to hire this lady as part of my company at that time, and this lady was just this radically bold person, this person who was just alive and on fire for Jesus. And she challenged me just to sort of read this book. And I was game. I'm like, sure, I'll take up your challenge. And I read the book. And, what that book ultimately left me with was, look, if this Jesus is real, and if he's really worth it, don't I want to be on the side that he's on? And so really that just put this super hardcore hunger in Helen and me. And we were later invited to go to Bible study by my parents. I think both of us were just so primed at that point that we agreed to go, which we had really not been agreeing up until that point.
There was an altar call at the end of that night, and literally we both just stood up at the same time we didn't talk about this in advance. Yeah. We didn't. And so I looked at him, I'm like, oh, we're really doing this, both of us. Yeah. So we went down and we accepted Jesus as our Savior.
Yeah. And that was December 13th of 1999. Yes.
Through our parents' brokenness, God brought redemption. We're so grateful to Michael's parents for their yes to Jesus. The fruit of their yes and so much prayer has influenced not only us, but also our kids. Our whole family serves side by side in this same church community here at Antioch.
We had great, well-meaning parents who struggled a lot. And now we, with my folks, we have seen this change in their life. And we have the blessing in turn of seeing now our kids, Jared and Courtney, and our son-in-law, Ryan, making that the foundation of their life. Where you start doesn't have to be where you finish. The truest thing that I really want people to grab from this story of ours is that we can actually have new life. He takes and makes all things new. And we're walking that out for 25 years now. And Jesus is worth it.